Ooh, I've got to read you this. This soap opera is getting, well, I keep saying the word hilarious. It's not hilarious, is it? The consequences are going to be hilarious, but the lead up to it isn't going to be hilarious. So, so I'm not laughing, but oh my God, what on earth are we looking at here? Is this going to start happening around the world? New York Mayor Bill de Blasio said on Sunday he'll relocate police funding towards youth and social services. Well, why don't you just give them youth and social services the money that you all spend on cocaine and hookers? Wouldn't that help? Anyway, Los Angeles, Eric Garcetti, said he'll slash the LAPD's budget by 150 million. That sounds really sensible in LA. It's a very peaceful place, Los Angeles, really calm. Just a beacon of moral living. Minneapolis City Council said voting to disband the city's police department and end policing as we know it. So, a CNN person, I don't like CNN. I've got no time for them either. This is why this is all a soap opera, but it's really good. It's hotting up. So CNN's Alison Camerota on Monday said, "What in the middle of the night? My home is broken into. Who do I call?" And the city council president, Lisa Bender, said, "Calling the police is an act of white privilege, and that once the police are disbanded, the privileged will finally get a taste of the violence that plagues the ghetto." Right. And she goes on to say, "I know that comes from a place of privilege. For those of us for whom the system is working, I think we need to stop and imagine what it would feel like to already live in that reality, where calling the police may mean more harm is done," Bender explained as Camerota gawped at the beast her network had birthed. Oh, God. Well, there you go. Then it goes on to say, "So you're on your own if this happens. The mask is off, and Bender and her ilk don't care if your door is kicked down by a home invader. Safety is less important than you, the privileged white citizen, getting your just desserts." That's very interesting. Let's see what this goes on to say as well. Oh, an Antifa fight instructor tells prospective rioters how to cause crippling pain to victims in a Project Veritas video. Wow, that's quite stunning, isn't it? Now, let me give you some statistics, shall we, about Chicago over the past weekend. So they were hanging banners in Chicago demanding that the mayor, Lori Lightfoot, defund the Chicago Police Department. At the same time, 5 people were shot dead and 30 others were injured in a spree of gun violence in the city's predominantly black south and west sides. 1 week earlier, the city marked its most violent weekend of 2020, with 85 people shot across the city, 24 fatally. Chicago's murder rate has nearly doubled since 2016, eclipsing New York and LA combined. It's likely not a coincidence that the city signed a consent decree with the American Civil Liberties Union the year before to end stop and frisk searches. And they want to replace the police with social workers and outreach teams. Ooh, I'll go on. New York in the 70s was described by the city's police department as Fear City, as it teetered on the edge of bankruptcy. Well, that sounds familiar. And after 5,000 New York Police Department officers and 14,000 other city workers were laid off, this is in 75. Visitors were advised by the New York Police Department to stay off the streets after 6 p.m, not to walk, not to ride the subway, and under no circumstances to venture beyond Manhattan, as the city's then black boroughs had been gutted by arson and looting and resembled war zones. Well, I'm starting to see these areas becoming the same, aren't they? I'm not I'm not a fan of Mayor Rudy Giuliani or any of these people, okay? But when he really came in the 90s, he pushed the crime rate below the national average, and he did that by 1999. So what the people who are pushing for the defund the police are doing is, well, they're just going to force people to arm themselves if this goes ahead, and people are going to get shot by accident. There was a story I heard a little while ago, and I think it stemmed from Argentina, where on one day they were starving people, and somebody tried to break into somebody's home to steal some food. Anyway, shot him dead. And the next day, I think it was a martial law that was imposed, was actually lifted, and everybody could go out freely again. And the day before, he was a man defending his food and shot another man dead. And then the day after, he was a murderer. That difference of 24 hours makes a huge difference. So if the police were disbanded in these areas within 24 hours, the difference would be huge. We're still watching all this, aren't we? The soap opera is just, well, I mean, I've never seen such cunning script writing as this. And if you are one of the people who says, "Oh, I don't need the police," I'm not a fan of the police, for God's sake. Especially they kill innocent people, they brutalise, they fine, they interfere. They're not the people that you want. So surely we need a new police force. We don't need to disband the police. We need to reform and retrain. But of course, anyone in the West that thinks this is going to happen, the police are purely a Masonic agency. Even the mayors and the councillors and these people saying, oh, well, we're going to disband the police, and thinking it's going to happen, it's not going to happen in their areas. They're being allowed to talk about it to create further confusion and dissent. But if you think for 1 minute that these Freemasonic guys are going to give up their position, ultimately, because a group of liberal lefty retards want to disband them, well, you just wait and see what happens then. Oh God, who shot JR? Who fucking cares? Cheers.